Latin America has a long and complex history of political change, with many countries in the region experiencing periods of dictatorship, civil unrest, and economic turmoil. However, in recent decades, the region has also witnessed significant progress in terms of democratization and political reform. In this video, we will explore the various processes of political change that have taken place in Latin America, as well as the current state of democracy in the region. One of the key factors driving political change in Latin America has been the rise of social movements and grassroots activism. Over the past few decades, social movements in the region have mobilized around a range of issues, including human rights, indigenous rights, and environmental protection. These movements have played a crucial role in challenging authoritarian regimes and promoting democratic reform. For example, the indigenous movement in Bolivia played a significant role in ousting President Gonzalo Sánchez de Lozada in 2003, and subsequently helped to usher in the election of Evo Morales, the country's first indigenous president. Similarly, in Brazil, the Fora Temer movement emerged in response to the impeachment of former President Dilma Rousseff, and called for an end to corruption and the restoration of democracy. Another important factor driving political change in Latin America has been economic transformation. Many countries in the region have experienced periods of economic growth and development, which have helped to strengthen democratic institutions and reduce poverty. However, economic inequality remains a persistent challenge in many Latin American countries, and this has fueled social unrest and political instability. For example, in Chile, the 2019 protests were sparked by a hike in public transportation fares, but quickly turned into a broader movement against economic inequality and political corruption. Similarly, in Venezuela, economic instability and corruption have contributed to a prolonged period of political crisis and social unrest. In terms of the state of democracy in Latin America, there have been both successes and challenges. On the one hand, the region has made significant progress in terms of democratization, with many countries holding regular elections and respecting human rights. However, there are also significant challenges to democracy in the region, including corruption, political polarization, and the rise of authoritarianism. One of the key challenges to democracy in Latin America is corruption. Corruption is a pervasive problem in many countries in the region, and it undermines the legitimacy of democratic institutions. Corruption also contributes to economic inequality and social injustice, further fueling political unrest. For example, the Lava Jato scandal in Brazil implicated high-level politicians and business leaders in a massive corruption scheme, and contributed to public disillusionment with the political system. Similarly, in Mexico, corruption and violence have fueled popular frustration with the political establishment, and contributed to the rise of populist leaders such as Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Another challenge to democracy in Latin America is political polarization. In recent years, many countries in the region have experienced increasing levels of political polarization, with political parties and social groups becoming more divided and entrenched in their positions. This has made it difficult for governments to address key challenges, such as economic inequality and social unrest. For example, in Bolivia, the 2019 presidential elections were marred by allegations of fraud and sparked widespread protests and violence. The election divided the country along ethnic and ideological lines, and contributed to the downfall of President Evo Morales. Finally, the rise of authoritarianism is a growing concern in Latin America. In recent years, several countries in the region have experienced democratic backsliding, with leaders using anti-democratic tactics to consolidate power and undermine democratic institutions. This trend threatens to undermine the progress that has been made in terms of democratization and political reform in the region. In conclusion, Latin America has experienced significant political change over the past few decades, driven by social movements, economic transformation, and democratization. While there have been successes, such as regular elections and the respect for human rights, there are also significant challenges to democracy in the region, including corruption, political polarization, and the rise of authoritarianism. It is important for the region's leaders and citizens to continue to work towards strengthening democratic institutions and promoting social justice, in order to ensure a better future for all. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos on international relations and diplomacy.